Welcome to the University of Southampton Student Enrolment Video Guide. This video is for UK and EU students to enrol themselves. Enrolment means that you are activating your record to the status of student of the University of Southampton. The guide will go through each screen with you, offering hints and tips to help you complete your own enrolment. There's also a printable version of the guide available on the enrolment website at www.southampton.ac.uk/enrol. If you're an international student, your next step is to complete a visa check with the Student Records team. To find out more about how and when to do this, use the following link to their website, or go to www.southampton.ac.uk/tier4_check_in. Let's get started. Click on the Continue to Enrol button here, and the Student Record System self-service screen will be displayed. If you don't see this screen straight away, you may have to enter your new username and password to get to it. Click on the first option called Enrol here. This will display the data disclosure screen. This is the first of typically 15 screens, and as the red message tells you, you won't be enrolled until you've completed all of them and clicked on the final screen Enrol button. Read the data disclosure statement. It's about how we store your information on our student record system. And then when you're ready, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click the Next button. Now you need to check your permanent address information on this screen. This isn't for halls of residence addresses yet. You update this on the next screen. This is just for your current permanent address, such as your home address. First, make sure there's a valid from this date. If there isn't, or it needs correcting, type it in, making sure it's in the format shown. So if I had been at my permanent home address since the 27th of May 2010, I would enter it as 27/05/2010. If you have had a new permanent address since completing your application, you'll need to end the old address first by completing the Unto this date field with the date that you left it. Enter the date in the same format as before and click Submit. The system will then offer you a new empty record to complete. Always start off with entering a valid from this date for new addresses and search for it as described next. So for changing an existing address or finding a new one, first enter a country here. Select the country from the drop-down list and then click on the country to pull it through. For non-UK addresses, you would type over the fields that you need to change. For UK addresses, use the UK Address Search button. Click on the Clear button to empty the fields if you are replacing an address, and it's easier to start searching with the postcode. So enter the postcode in the postcode field. And then click on the Search button. Let the system search for your address and scroll through the results and double-click on the address that you want. And then you would click on the Save button. But if the system has not found the correct address, you can amend the details yourself by typing directly into any of the fields. And then you would click the Save button. Next, check and correct any phone numbers. by typing straight into the fields. Then scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on Submit. The next screen is for your term time address, so this is where you'll be living while you're at university. If you haven't got these details yet, you can skip this section for now by scrolling to the bottom of the page and clicking on Submit. You can add them later once you know what they are. If you do have details, start with the valid from this date field here. So if I was going to be living in my term time address from the 15th of September 2012, I would enter it as 15/09/2012. Now enter a country here using the drop down. Click on the country to pull it through. And if you were entering a non-UK address, you would type straight into the fields for the rest. For UK addresses, you would use the UK search button as described in the previous section. Enter a postcode and click on Search and let the system look for your address. Scroll through the results and then double-click on the address that you want. Then you would click Save and it would pull it through. As before, if the system isn't finding the correct address, you can enter the details straight into the field yourself and then click Save. Or if you're staying in halls of residence and you have the details, use the UOS Halls Search button. Then click on the drop-down in the Hall field and select the property. Then enter the flat house or room number in the box below. And click on Save. Next, you'll need to select the accommodation type here. If you don't, you'll get the following error message. So let's go and select that property type. So click on the drop down and for halls, choose Institution Maintained Property. Lastly, enter a phone number. This can be a landline number or a mobile. And then click on Submit at the bottom of the page. Update your emergency contact details on this next screen. You can add or remove contacts and change the priority of which one to contact first in an emergency. It is helpful to have at least one so we have someone to contact should there ever be an emergency. To change the details of an existing contact, click on the person's actual name. It opens up address, phone number and priority order fields for you to amend. Then you would click on the Submit Changes button if you had changed anything. If you need to add another contact, click on the New Contact link. And empty contact fields will be displayed for you to complete. Go through the fields one by one, starting off with the name, then the country, and then use the UK Address Search button as described in the previous section. So here it's best to start off by adding a postcode and let the system search for you by clicking on Search and then double click on the address once you've located it. Click on Save and it pulls that information through for you. Lastly, add a phone number and then finish off with the Submit Changes button. Once you've finished updating your emergency contact details, click on the Next button to continue. Next is the Disability Data and Information screen. There are 2 drop-down fields to complete here. Check the disability selection is correct. If not, click on the drop-down and select from the list. It's worth mentioning here that to receive support from enabling services at the university for a disability, you'll need to register with them. For more information about their services, go to their website at www.southampton.ac.uk/edusupport or click on the link here. It will open up in a separate window. There's also an email address and phone number here if you need to make a note of them for later. You have to answer both of the questions, even if they don't apply to you, or you'll get the following error message and won't be able to continue. So make sure you've answered both questions and then click on Submit. On the Personal Details screen, you only need to review your title and choose an ethnicity. You don't need to complete any of the other fields. To change your title, such as Mr., Mrs., Ms., type straight into the field, and for ethnicity, click on the drop-down and choose from the list. The university has to make annual returns for statistical purposes that include this type of data. There are options on this list if you prefer not to say. Once you've chosen, click on Submit. This next screen's questions are also required for statistical returns. To complete each question, click on the drop-down and select from the list. If you'd rather not provide the information, there are options to allow for this. Then click on the Next button to continue. Next, check your higher education details. If the details have already been filled from the original application, you can continue. If not, complete the previous institution section if you have attended another higher educational institution. It's best to start with the country drop-down. Then the town-city drop-down. And finally choose the institution from the list. Then go on and complete the rest of the fields using the drop-down list to choose from. If you don't complete the questions about your qualification on entry, you'll get error messages like this, and you won't be able to continue. So complete all of the fields and then click on the Next button when you've finished. The next screen is for either you to complete with details of your previous occupation if you're over 21, or with details of your parents' or guardians' occupation if you are under 21. There's no need to complete any other field other than occupation, so go straight to it and click on the drop-down and choose from the list. Once you've done this, click on Next to continue. This screen is just a summary. All you need to do is click on Next. The Sponsors screen is another summary screen where you don't need to do anything, but if you are being sponsored for funding which isn't from the student loan company, and the details of your sponsor are not showing in the sponsor section here, you will need to complete a form called SP1-Sponsor Information Form. If you need this form, click on the link to it here, and it will open in a separate window for you to complete later. You can still carry on enrolling and hand the form in later. Click on Next. The General Students screen shows all of your course information. You can't change anything here, but if something does need amending, make a note of it and then go to your Faculty Student Office to get it amended when you're on campus. Click on the Next button to continue. Okay, there's a lot on this next screen, but you can break it down into 3 main sections: data protection, council tax exemption, and receiving a student entitlement card, which is £300 for you to spend on a range of goods and services. The entitlement section only applies to full fee-paying students from the UK or EU who are enrolling in the academic year 2012 to 2013. As part of the enrolment process, we set up records with the options we think the majority of students will want. But this next section gives you the opportunity to opt out if you do not wish to be part of that process. First, there's the council tax exemption section here. If you don't inform the local council you are a student, you will be charged this tax for living in a UK address. If you don't want us to inform them that you are enrolling to be a student, or you wish to contact them yourself, then tick into the box here. Then there's the entitlement card section here. And then near the bottom of the screen is the bit you have to agree to get the card. Basically, by agreeing to receive it means you agree that we can send some of your details to John Smith's, the bookshop on the main campus. If you agree to this, tick here, and then click on Next to continue. This is the final screen. Read the details of the student declaration statement and click into the box to agree with it. This is like a student contract. You are agreeing to the university's rules and regulations and academic practices. There are full details available through the link here, which will then display in a separate window if you wanted to find out more information. Once you are happy with the student declaration, tick the box and finally click on the Enroll button. If you can see the confirmation screen being shown now, congratulations, you have now enrolled. For any difficulties with enrolling, or if you can't see the confirmation message, please contact the enrolment hotline for help. They are on the university internal phone number of 28888, or if you are external, call 02380 598888. Or you can email them at enrol@sutton.ac.uk. If you have an error message to talk to them about, it's really helpful if you write this down. You can replay this video by clicking on the play button if you want to watch it again. And there's a printable version of the guide available on the enrolment website at www.southampton.ac.uk/enroll. For the next stage in the process, click on the Next button.